Hi, first graders. Today, I'm going to introduce our learning for the week. This week, during our 3 science sessions, we are going to be learning about something called biomimicry. And that is when scientists, engineers learn from nature, meaning they might research different animals and then try to engineer or create or develop different tools or things to help humans live a better life. So biomimicry can be broken down into bio, which means life, and mimicry is like when you mimic or you copy someone. So if you've ever had someone say, please stop doing that, and you go, please stop doing that. Or Mrs. Shepherd says something and I say something and then you decide to copy what I say, that is mimicking. So biomimicry is copying life. So that's what we're focusing on this week for our 3 learning sessions. And what's really cool about biomimicry is that this fits really well with what we were already learning about animals. Remember, the last 2 weeks, we've learned about animals and their body structures, their body parts, and how those body parts function to help the animals survive. So scientists and engineers do a lot of studying of animals and plants too to see how they work so that they can get ideas for things they can invent and design to make life better for humans. So here is our objective for the week. Students will be able to design and engineer something to help humans live a better life. Now, that's right, boys and girls, this is an engineering challenge week. So we're going to spend today, the first session of the week, learning about what is biomimicry. The second session, you're going to do some research and start to brainstorm what you would want to create to help make lives better for humans. And third, we are going to have the third session, which is where you have time to draw or create your ideas. Here's our language for the week. Students will be able to say, I will make for humans so they can Now, here's one example of what that could sound like. It could sound like, I will make butterfly wings for humans so they can fly. It might also sound like something like this. I will make bear claws for humans so they can climb trees. Here's our second sentence. Humans need like to This is what this could sound like. Humans need a shell like a turtle to protect themselves. Or humans need a tail like a scorpion to protect themselves and sting when they are in danger. So as you can see, this assignment is going to be a lot of fun. So I'm going to take you through the next few pictures to start to get your brain thinking about biomimicry and the creations and the inventions that have already been developed by scientists and engineers after they've learned about nature. So first, we'll get started with bird wings. Whenever we look at airplane wings, we can know that they were influenced by birds' wings. And the shape is really the same. And lots of engineers, before we were able to fly planes and have airplanes, engineers were learning a lot about birds and other flying animals to help them develop the shape of the airplane wings and to figure out how they could get something up in the sky. Here's another example. We have bats. And you might remember when you had Mr. Coleman earlier this year and you were learning about sound, that bats use something called echolocation to try and find their prey and also to be able to tell if they're about to run into a wall. So what bats do is they emit sounds, and those sounds create the vibrations and the sound waves. And if the sound waves hit a tree or hit a little bug they're trying to eat or hit a wall, it bounces back to the bat, and the bat is able to tell, oh, there's something there for me to eat, or I need to move out of the way. So scientists, when they learned about this echolocation, with bats, they were able to then take that understanding and use it to create something we call sonar. So a lot of boats and submarines use it, where they have these emitters which make sound waves, and they'll go through this. In this picture, it's going through the water all the way to the ground, and then it will bounce off the ground and then send a signal back up, the vibrations back up towards the boat, and the machine will read and be able to calculate how far away that item is. So this is really helpful when they're looking for old boats under the ground, or even when they're mapping the way the ocean floor looks at the bottom of the ocean. But that was inspired by learning from bats. When we think about leaves, many of us already know that leaves are important because they take in the sunlight and the air, and they have photosynthesis to make the food for the plant to grow. Now, scientists were learning all about leaves, and they thought, is there another way that we could create energy? And that's where the idea of solar cells come into, or solar panels, where you can have these solar panels on top of your roof or on top of a building, and it can absorb the light from the sun and then be turned into energy and electricity. And so that was inspired by leaves. I don't know if you've ever played with glow sticks, but the idea for having some type of liquid that can be in a container and it can glow came from fireflies. Fireflies are not an insect that we have around here in California, but they do exist in other parts of the United States and all over the world, where there are these little flying bugs, and at night they glow. That's why they're called a firefly. They kind of flicker some light from their body, and it's not electricity. It's actually made within their body from some liquids that they have. So glow sticks were inspired by fireflies. Now, this is one of the most famous inventions that came from the idea of biomimicry, mimicking nature. So there was this famous scientist, and he was out on a hike one day, and he got all of these cockleburs, all of these seeds with really pointy hooks on them stuck to his socks. And he was a very interested scientist, and he's like, why did they stick to my socks? So he ended up taking off all these cockleburs and putting them under his microscope at home so he could look at them very closely. And what he found was each one of these little burrs is straight and has a hook. It's straight and has a hook. And all those hooks, he thought, it just really easily connected to the fabric of my socks. So this man ended up inventing Velcro. Just like you have Velcro on your shoes, or you might have Velcro on your rain jacket. Velcro even has been a very important invention for astronauts in space. So when we look at Velcro, you can see one side of the Velcro has all the hooks, and the other side has all this fuzzy stuff that the hooks can get caught on and get stuck to. So there's another example of how we've learned from nature. Now, this one is really fun. Geckos are animals, right? And they have on their pads of their little feet, they have the ability to be able to stick onto walls and climb up walls, or even climb on the ceiling and on upside down. So scientists were always amazed by the geckos. They learned more and more about them, and they've developed these kind of different ideas of how could we help humans climb on walls or windows or buildings, or have better grip on a surface so they don't slip around? So here's some of the shoes that have been invented inspired by geckos, where they're really bumpy and have a lot of grip to help you not slip around. And then over here, they have these big, like sticky pads, kind of, these big suction cups that they've put on this man's hands and feet to help him climb this wall of glass on the side of a building. So they're testing out their invention, all inspired by the gecko. Now, this one you'll see in the video you'll watch later. This is a special backpack that's inspired by an armadillo. And an armadillo has a really hard shell, and it's hard so it can roll up in a ball and protect itself when it's being attacked, or it feels in danger. And it protects all of its inside organs, its heart and its lung and its digestive system. So this backpack was designed, it opens, not like the backpack you have or I have, it opens in the middle and you put all your things inside and then it closes. And the way it closes, this material is not soft like your backpack, but very, very hard. So if you wear this backpack, it's super hard on the outside so that it can keep whatever's inside extra safe, just like an armadillo. And this also kind of makes me think about a turtle shell and how turtles have hard shells that also help to protect their bodies. Now, here's another interesting invention that was inspired by nature. In Japan, they have a super fast bullet train, and it's one of the most famous bullet trains. Well, what they were finding when they first invented it was that whenever it went through tunnels, it was making this huge boom sound when it came out of the tunnel. And they were also finding that, yeah, it's super fast, but could we make the train go even faster? And they turned to nature. They started to investigate and learn about this bird, and this is called a kingfisher. This kingfisher bird, as you can tell, it has a really long beak, and it kind of slowly gets bigger and bigger into its head. And these kingfishers are really well known for being able to dive into the water to hunt and get fish and come back up. Now, when they dive into the water, because of the shape of their beak and their head, they hardly make any splash or any sound. They also are able to go through the water really fast. So using this idea of learning from the shape of the kingfisher's beak, the engineers were able to modify and change and redesign this bullet train in Japan, and now it has that very, very pointy kind of cone shape at the front. And when they changed it, they realized it stopped making the big booming sound when it went through tunnels because it was cutting through the air better. And it started to go even faster. So that's a really cool example of learning from nature. So next we have like an ice pick. And that is inspired by a woodpecker. So they looked at how a woodpecker's shape and how it's kind of slanted. And if woodpeckers are pecking at a tree to make a hole, they thought, oh, this might be the perfect shape to be able to also do that. All right, scientists, so we're at the end of our presentation. Next, you're going to watch a video about biomimicry from Generation Genius, and then you'll see me again to explain your project for the week, your engineering challenge. I hope you enjoyed starting to get inspired about what other scientists and engineers have created for biomimicry, learning from nature. Bye, guys.